is there. Yeah, we've got two great speakers. Joel is from Seedify. They create ecosystems, or they help startups create ecosystems across ecosystems. And Lanre is from Neutron, one of the most exciting new ecosystems in Cosmos. And I've got a bunch of questions for him to learn about his tactics. But yeah, let's start with Joel and tell us a bit about yourself and the work you're doing at Seedify.
All right, so guys, my name is Joel. I'm the lead ecosystem growth lead at Seedify. Seedify is a launchpad, incubation, and acceleration. We've launched over 120 projects. We've incubated around 50 projects. We launch projects every week, and we help the project to grow and also help them to raise money. And we have around 400 to 800K raises that we raise for new projects, emerging projects. We also, along the way, help them grow their ecosystem and design a strategy for them to grow after launch, and how to also acquire users that will use the product.
That's amazing. Lanre.
Hi guys, I'm Lanre, head of ecosystem for Neutron, and also over the last year, I also lead the grants program. As I described in the presentation yesterday, Neutron is a smart contract chain within Cosmos focused on integrated finance. And in my role, I spend a lot of time working with new devs and entrepreneurs that want to build on Neutron and help and support them via grants, audits, go-to-market strategy, and things like that. So yeah, we'll be interested to talk about like my experience and our experience over the last year trying to build an ecosystem, and then I guess we can go from there.
All right. So I suppose my first question is, what is ecosystem growth? What do you track? What are the key metrics that define, is it growing or is it stagnating? Whoever wants to go first.
I think I'll go first. Like Seedify, I think we see ecosystem growth differently from other like layer 1 or layer 2 protocol, a blockchain protocol, because we're more focused on retainer. It's more retainer based. We grow users, and at the same time, we need to also grow our own ecosystem by aligning ourselves with the right partners. We have a lot of partnership with almost all the layer 1s and layer 2s. At the same time, that is based on internal structure, right? So we need to align also security audit. We need to also strategize internally how to roll out our own internal product, at the same time helping the project we're working with. So if we work with a project, that means we also need to provide them networking them with other partners of ours. And so eventually we need to grow our own to be able to provide this solution to other people and directing, linking them. Let's say we incubate a project that we want to build on Cosmos ecosystem, so we need to have a partnership with them to do the introduction, like look for security auditors that audit Tangerine and Tendermint and all that. And we do that across all protocols. At the same time, we also develop go-to-market strategies for most of the early project because they don't know how to do that. And since we already have the experience of building an ecosystem, not only the technical part, also from the user point of view, so we often help them a lot to grow and just advising them how to go about it.
Yeah, and for me, what is ecosystem growth? I think ecosystem, like the word ecosystem is a bit of like this one of these like amorphous kind of terms that don't necessarily, can mean a lot or cannot necessarily mean a lot. Like at least for me and for us, it just means like, how easy is it for people to build cool stuff and products on Neutron? And then also, how easy is it for those people to get users and capital to use their products? And kind of, I guess there's a lot of elements towards that. There's kind of more the developer experience aspect. There's the like go-to-market aspect. There's also like what a lot of time we spend work on like, okay, like someone's created a cool MVP or a cool product. How do we help them take it to the next stage to make it like a sustainable business and get people to use it? So kind of, yeah, I guess that encompasses what I think of when I think of ecosystem growth.
All right. Yeah, you both touched on an interesting point. I suppose my question is, what do you optimize for first? Getting more developers, getting more users, or getting community? You know, which comes first?
I think it depends on the product and what they are building. First of all, and this is coming from the due diligence perspective, right? You need to actually analyze what the product market fit. There are some projects that they provide the solution, like security auditors don't need retail, they don't need users, they don't need communities, except you have it like a platform for open source for developers or security researcher to work on. But if we're talking about a project that is user-centric, so you know that, okay, your first go-to-market strategy is your product market fit is based on users. So now you need to align that in terms of that and develop their ecosystem by acquiring user first. And if your product is just you're providing a white label solution, like you're building a smart contract, you need the developers, right? And if you have a partner like that, so we need to introduce them to a lot of projects that are building. So it just depends on what you're building, and then the first step is to actually analyze each project and then design a specific solution that fit what they're building.
Yeah, and I think I definitely agree with some of the stuff Joel said. It's been an issue we've tried to wrap our heads around over the last year, where I guess there's a lot of smart contract chains, a lot of chains in crypto that are like, hey, we're the best, we do this thing, which is really cool, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think especially early on in the grant program, our approach was like, hey, let's just find really smart people and give them grants, give them support, and hopefully they build really cool things in crypto, which is obviously quite hard. It's really hard to make a successful application in crypto. There's a lot, things move so quickly in the space. People are interested in DeFi 1 second, then NFTs the next, and it takes a year and hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay in audits to even launch something. I think our approach nowadays is that, I think maybe from a developer's perspective or an entrepreneur's perspective, at the end of the day, you kind of want to make money, you want to do something successful. And if we kind of internally at Neutron can incubate and give early examples of success on Neutron, say, hey, we can incubate a liquid staking protocol and it has hundreds of millions of TVL, and we have a playbook of how to do that. Or we can do the same with a lending protocol or a AMM, and we can then say to, hey guys, we have X amount of users and X amount of capital that have already deployed on our products. We can help you get those same users on your products. I think that's a bit more viable than being like, hey, we have no users, no capital, no one cares about us. Please, can you come develop the best thing ever on our chain? So that's been an approach change, which obviously is still an iterative process, and kind of how we're trying to see things a bit more.
All right, fair enough. I suppose a follow-up to that would be, so at Neutron, you guys have worked with, there's at least 10 products who have launched on Neutron, maybe more, 10 that I'm aware of. But what would you say was, with an example, the most significant failure you've seen, or a common mistake that many of these projects make?
Yeah, I won't refer to any single one, and also I'll keep it as in I'll also base off just my general observations of being in crypto and using a lot of products. I think one thing has been and it's a very understandable thing, just because I think obviously deploying smart contracts on a chain, you kind of pin people's money at risk. If something goes wrong, you've lost tens of millions of dollars or whatever. But I think often the time to market, or kind of the time to release the first kind of product, is probably a bit I'd say definitely Cosmos is definitely probably a bit longer than I'd say is ideal. And that's an issue, because I guess you can launch, build something which is really cool, you think is really cool, but if you can't test that with users and people in the market, it's hard to know if your initial assumptions are valid. And then also it can mean that you've spent a year or 2 years investing your time, your sweat equity, etc., into something, and then that isn't received well, and then kind of I think that can be quite disheartening. And I think that's the case for kind of a lot, I guess people only talk about and hear about the successful apps that launch in crypto, but for every successful app, there's probably 100 unsuccessful apps. And I think there's probably and those unsuccessful apps aren't necessarily run by people who can't necessarily succeed in a different environment. So I'd say that was probably the biggest thing. And I guess it's hard to prevent entirely, because I think, smart people are probably more likely to be perfectionists and want to create a better product. But I'd say trying to release like an MVP or something to market quicker and then quickly iterating after that would be a better solution. But yeah.
How about you, Joe? Because you've got experience looking at products across ecosystems. What's one of the biggest pitfalls that new projects make?
Sometimes it's not it's not all about money. We've seen a lot of developers coming with the mindset of, oh yes, I built something, and then I should be rewarded for it. And rewarded, I mean, like financially. So just because you build a product doesn't mean this product worth millions of dollars of raises. If you don't have a proper economic design or have a way of generating revenue, or regardless of how much you raise, it will never be enough. And I know a friend of mine who have one of the best product in terms of gaming product, but he is a rich machine, right? And then he launched a token, and then the token performed extremely bad. At least right now it's like 99% down because he thinks money will solve all the problem. Sometimes you just want to build, and the money will come later. And this is, I could give you a lot of examples. We've seen a lot of meme coins starting with maybe 10K liquidity, and then they become billions of dollar FDV, right? So then that attracts retail investors. Sometimes it's a PvP, like it's a peer-to-peer ecosystem. Don't take money as the first thing. You will always be successful if you build a successful project, regardless of how the income or the financial stable. Because I've seen a project launched, they raised 2 million and they end up removing the liquidity and they robbed everybody that was involved.
A classic Web3 project.
Yeah.
So I suppose, hoping no one rugs here, but assuming, we've got developers working, they're going to work over the weekend on their project. Sunday, end of the hackathon, they've got an MVP of a product that hopefully works. What should they do on Monday? What's the first thing they should do to take their product to the next level? And I'll let you both answer it.
Just because it's the end of the hackathon doesn't mean that it should be the end of your project. I've been to a lot of hackathons, both as a builder and as probably a speaker. I've seen a lot of hackathons. I think I've attended almost all the Chainlink hackathon. And I've seen a lot of projects being built. As soon as most of the developers won the hackathon, they forget about the project. There's no continuations. So whatever you're building right now, it might be something. If you keep building it, like the end result might change slightly, but as long as you focus building on the original idea, you will build something. Something will come with it.
Or maybe just to clarify, should they take the MVP and develop it further? Should they try to find users for it and start doing marketing? Or should they just head, straight to a grants program or a VC? What should they do?
I think it should be both. Please don't go to VC. VC doesn't guarantee your success. Every VC run, if a VC invested in the strategic round, the VC that is coming next is the first VC exit liquidity. And by the time the product is ready and you raise through VC, your community will become your VC's exit liquidity. And you want to build your product on the back of the community, not the VCs. So I would say apply for grants. Ecosystem grant is the best way to continue building. Then start building your community, which I'm sure majority of you knows how to build it. Discord is very, very important. And the trick is find a very fun person to take care of your social media, not the post side, but the comment section. And this is where the secret is. And I know a lot of reply guys that are making a lot of money just by replying to comments, right? So that could be something you want to focus on as a project that doesn't raise a lot of money. And at the same time, once you're building, you trust what you're building, trust the process, don't scale unnecessarily. Also, when you scale, don't start paying people money instantly. You could also go through the equity round, like everybody that want to work with you. Build a team that you trust, and give them equity from the project instead of paying them salary. Let everybody work for the passion of the project instead of you handing them money, because you eventually run out of money if you don't raise millions of dollars from VCs, or you don't have vibrant community that's constantly investing in what you're building, right? So just build your community, or set up a team that you think they have the long-term vision of the project, and then take ecosystem grant, because that would be the best. Now, if you take grant from ecosystem, if you build a community, you could do a fair launch and then still be successful.
All right, so community and grants. How about you, Lanre? What should they do on Monday?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's very much a case-by-case basis, depending on what you guys build. And I would say the first thing is, like, obviously, like next steps very much depend on a person's personal circumstances. Like I know often in hackathons, maybe a product is created, but it's a fun thing to do on the weekend, but isn't necessarily something they want to dedicate the rest of their lives to. Kind of in that case, I think that's also fine. Kind of in the case that kind of there's the chance that you think, hey, there's a cool product here, like just message me on Telegram. Hopefully by the end of this weekend, kind of I have everyone's Telegram, or kind of have some communication, and kind of if you're interested in working out next steps on what to build and how to build it on Neutron, kind of you can talk to me, and there's a lot of other people on the Neutron team that could help, whether that be on like ideating around technical infrastructure, economics considerations, or like, hey, what's the viable path to like launching this product as a fully idealized product. So yeah, I'll just say talk to me and talk to the Neutron team, and we can go from there.
All right, brilliant. So that's to do with early stage products. I want to change gears and go a bit into, the developer platform. So in terms of growing the ecosystem and then scaling it up, how do you guys, or rather, what are the most effective strategies you've seen or done yourself to onboard new developers onto an ecosystem?
So just to rephrase the question, so what have I seen as the most effective tools to kind of onboard developers into an ecosystem? Like either from personal experience or?
Personal experience or things you've done, strategies, not tools.
Yeah, as in, for example, like I definitely think, like as in kind of, one thing I'm really trying to work on at Neutron, I guess this is a part of my role, is to kind of do a much better job at this. I think, I look at maybe the base ecosystem or Solana as two examples of like ecosystems I would say, and most people probably agree right now, like are doing a very good job of like creating a good developer ecosystem, developer experience. I would say maybe more based in Solana in certain aspects of that. I think base is a good example of like, they're being very creative with their kind of, different kind of community and grant programs and kind of developer campaigns. So for example, focusing on a lot of aspects of crypto that aren't necessarily focused on by a lot of certain communities, like, hey, a lot of art or creative or gaming things, which I think kind of is a good way to get people just excited about building on a given chain. And then I think another thing that works is that, like, definitely in the case of Base, there was a very clear path for developers that, hey, if you build on this ecosystem, like there's a lot of users, there's a lot of Coinbase users, and I think that's maybe the most compelling thing. I think maybe I imagine a lot of people are willing to put up with a lot of stuff if there's a viable path to kind of success, and kind of making that very clear and kind of helping guide people along the way is something I'd say is like something I think we're trying to do a lot better at, looking at both Base and Solana, which I think do a good job of that.
Yeah, no, agreed. I'm not even a developer, and I'm excited about developing on Base. How about you, Joe?
In our case, it's quite different. Aside from showing most of the developers that we have strong partners, ecosystem partners, like we have direct connection or relationship with like Base, Coinbase team. We have direct relationship with Lanre and Adam and all that. We also, and this is why I say it's different, right? So we incentivize them in a way whereby, okay, if you work with us, we could raise up to $1 billion for you to continue building your project. And I believe that also plays a lot of important roles, knowing that, okay, if I work with Seedify, I'm gonna end up raising up to $1 million from the public rounds, and which could also further be redirected into product development. We've equipped ourselves by surrounding ourselves with the right partners, and also we use that a lot as a leverage to work with a lot of developers. Take for instance, we just completed an AI Jam project where we incubate 10 cohort of AI project, and during this period, it's like 10 to 11 weeks long. We basically help them with everything, right? And we have daily master classes, bringing on some of our partners, introducing them, and then by the end of this program, we are still going to raise 600K for them, which we already started raising for them, right? So it's a little bit a way of providing value, teaching them how to launch a successful project, at the same time expanding their ecosystem of partners, because we basically have to do everything for them. They just have to be present, they just have to focus on building, and also we need to introduce them to their potential profession they want to launch on. To be honest, a lot of them lean towards the Solana due to the hype and all that, so we need to also have a partner, Solana partner, Solana white label solution providers to help them out. So yeah.
All right. And talking again in terms of scaling, have you guys noticed, is there any trend or challenges with regards to scaling globally? Because I know some ecosystems, they focus heavily in certain countries because, they think either there's good potential there or there could be potential use cases there. Have you guys used some of those strategies? If you have, what sort of challenges did you face working, with global communities?
Yeah, global scale is one of the hardest things to achieve, and this also depends on many variables. Like Seedify, we have a lot of users from Europe, some part of Asia, but particularly there are some countries we couldn't get into, like Korea. We know the Korea market is really is where the money is in terms of speculation, right? But tap into those, scale into those in terms of marketing, it's extremely difficult. And also, we also realize that most of the participants in most of the launches we're doing is mostly Africa, Europe, Asian, and also we need to follow a lot of regulatory activities. We cannot scale in US in terms of raises, but in terms of product launches, we've launched a lot of product from the state. So now we need to divide how do we scale in terms of user acquisition or in terms of product development. Then we need to pick our own area. We also work with a lot of developers. We know that those are, not low maintenance developers, but at the same time, they don't need so much to develop a great project. So you want to target such. And I believe that also plays in almost ecosystem, because I've worked with a lot of very expensive product developers that I know a founder that started paying himself $20K every month, which I believe is unnecessary. So if you're building a product and you like what you build, there's no reason for you to pay yourself. Who is paying for you? If it's not VC money, that also means the community will be responsible for that. So yeah, scaling is a little bit strategic in terms of launchpad, because we need to pick our own spot and area based on regulations.
Yeah, I'd say in Neutron's case specifically, and I think this is the case for kind of any chain, like the communities that you tend to access will just be defined by the demographics of your team. Like, for example, like Neutron, I think have generally done a good job of like accessing the kind of like European and kind of American scene, at least when it comes to developers. Historically, I think they call it APAC, but like, for example, like Singapore, Hong Kong, Korea, and where there are like tons of really cool devs and really cool like users there, I think has historically been a blind spot. I think we've just hired people within our team who have much more expertise there. And I can't sit down and say, hey, I will ever be an expert on like the best way to kind of run a hackathon in Korea and kind of be very in touch with that audience. I think that's just outside of my skill set. So I would say like the way we're trying to solve that is just by hiring people who have that skill set. And then I think crypto, especially as a global market, a global industry, probably more so than any other industry, I think it's quite easy to then just like hire people that know these things.
Yeah, no, agreed. Obviously, this Hacker House here is Cosmos Hub's attempt at coming into Spain, whoop whoop, no longer just Berlin. And yeah, we started projects in both Brazil and Argentina recently. Well, Brazil, Argentina, and Nigeria, because in all three of those countries, inflation is silly, and stablecoin usage in all three countries is ridiculously high. I think in Nigeria, stablecoin usage is something like 60% of the population. And compare that to, say, the UK, where maybe about 3% of the population even know what a stablecoin is. So yeah, like going into some of these developing countries where they have high inflation, crypto usage is really high. And yeah, I think that's where our project should go to. But before I end, I suppose the last question is, what is the end goal of, building your product or your ecosystem? So in the Web 2 world, you grow a business, you build a product, grow a business, and then you have an exit event, which is a sale. In Web 3, obviously, we've got rugging as an exit mechanism. But if you're not going to rug, what's your exit strategy? How does the founding team exit without making the product collapse? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I guess the majority of like Web 2 businesses don't like necessarily sell or kind of sell IPO. They just kind of exist as or the ones that are profitable and successful exist as just like profitable businesses, which perhaps like support the livelihood of their employees and their founders. And I hope one day like crypto can also, I think crypto as an early stage industry, I think is a bit skewed in terms of like both the exit dynamics and then also what it means to be a sustainable crypto company maybe doesn't really exist, given the industry's existed for like, 5 years, 6 years is like a proper industry, I'd say. Obviously 10 years maybe, or a bit longer. So, I would say the end goal is I don't think it's necessarily, founders exiting or kind of selling on to another, but it's just running a sustainable kind of like whether it be a DeFi business, like a sustainable business and a protocol that like serves its users and does that well. And there's ways to kind of make that sustainable by charging fees and just running like a business that way. So kind of I would say that. And I guess some percentage of businesses in crypto will be acquired and kind of that would be an exit strategy. And but yeah, I think there doesn't necessarily have to be a massive difference between how it's done in like Web 2 and how it's done in crypto.
All right, brilliant. I
think it's a little bit tricky to exit a crypto project. Maybe a project that doesn't have a token and already generates revenue, that valuation could be easily calculated. But the project with token, it will be extremely difficult in a way that most of the project with token, their valuation, product valuation is based on the token valuations. And you cannot quantify the token valuation because it's a very volatile asset and it's more based on speculations, right? So also exiting a very successful crypto project with token will be a mistake because you might exit and then the product will do 500x and now you're going to regret it, right? So I don't think there is a way of exiting successfully, or maybe you just stay back, let new people handle it, where at the same time just developing strategies and helping the team, but fully handing over a product to a new team that doesn't understand how it works and the user process. It's a little bit complicated. I don't think there is an easy answer to that, except you build a product that is not token reliant, and then you hand over that because you could calculate the revenue being generated and that you could exit. A product with token, except you rug everybody and just move on.
Well, hopefully in 5 years or maybe in 10 years, our industry would grow up to a stage where we can have, mergers and acquisitions and other positive exit methods. But yeah, with that, let's end there. Thank you so much, Joel. Thank you, Lanre. And guys, do reach out to them. They're here all week, or at least they're here for the rest of the evening. Do get their Telegram details so that you can hassle them for grant money and other help.
I mean,
Thank you.
I could link you up.